Hello and welcome back to the Tree of Life podcast. We are kind of introducing a new format today a little bit, so we hope you enjoy it. We've been doing this, we're moving into our third year of podcasting, so we figured we spice things up a little bit. So to kind of give you a forecast of what we're doing is the first section we're going to be doing is a forecast on the seasons like we have been doing before, discussing with you how to take advantage of this time of year to the most. And then we're going to be discussing a theme of the episode. And the episode this week is kind of based on love and relationships, just because we were in the Valentine's Day month. And then the final segment moving forward is going to be answering your questions. And we really wanted this to be a segment where if you are struggling, you're getting into paganism for the first time, you need some advice, no questions are bad questions. We want to answer them. Like if you're struggling to give offerings in a household where people don't appreciate you or something like that, we really want to answer those kind of questions. And so that's why in the beginning of this video, I just simply wanted to say, if you do have any questions for us, please leave them in the comments below, and hopefully we'll answer them in future episodes. But with that, yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And Kubi, I'm going to stop talking. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Yes, enjoying this new slightly sunny weather today.
Oh yeah,
It's
the
definitely
balmy.
such. Yeah, it's nice. We've had a lot of rain in Glastonbury, so it's nice to be gifted with a bit of sunshine for the first time in a while.
Yeah. So this time of year, what have been your personal reflections? I mean, we're moving at the time of recording, it's mid-February, so we're in the final days of winter.
I know, I know. I Part of me almost could have done another month of
Another month of
hibernation.
winter?
Honestly, I really somehow it's flown by, and I'm like, oh, I really wanted a month of just reading books, and I haven't managed to fit that in. So, yeah, it's all good. Life totters on, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So, yeah.
I,
How about you? How are you doing?
I always find that, every winter has a great lesson. Like right now, I've crossed the winter threshold in the sense of we're going into the final days. We've had our first spring moment. All of a sudden the sun came out, it was 50 degrees, and it's like, oh my God, I'm alive. And
Yeah.
so, and immediately I wanted to ride my bike. Like I absolutely love riding my bike. It's one of my greatest joys. Uh,
Mm,
and so to be able to wake up and think that as an opportunity again was really exciting for me. And it made me
yeah.
reflect on like last summer. Like last summer, I rode my bike until it was like 95 degrees and I was just drenched in sweat. And I had to say goodbye to it. And then all of a sudden autumn came around and I could say hello to it. So there's this like things that we kind of say goodbye to, things we say hello to again. We went skiing and, it was great. But now I have to say goodbye to it. The skiing season's starting to come to an end, but the bike season's
Yeah.
coming. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting this hello and goodbye we constantly have as the seasons change.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. There's lots of parting with little hobbies and little cozy crafts and things as well. Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe you need to take those last 45 days of winter and read some more, it sounds like.
I think so. I think that should be absolutely on my agenda. Yeah.
Yeah, well, just before this episode got started, we were talking, my personal interest in more privacy, which is an irony coming from someone who's literally recording his face for the internet right now. But I'm turning 32 this year, so I'm getting well into my 30s. And yeah, it's interesting after sharing my voice and my face for so long. I am starting to desire more privacy. And for me, just waking up in the morning, like today, I just read a book. Nothing
Yeah.
exciting. Didn't share that on Instagram because I just wanted to read a book.
That is one of the joys of getting into your 30s. I'm sure lots of people that are heading into their 30s fully understand this as well. It's nice to be able to not do anything too extravagant. Like you have now permission to be able to do boring things and it's okay because you're in your 30s.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just like when, we're young, everything's amazing. Everything's new. It's a new experience. And so like now that we have the power of social media and a camera always in our pocket, of course we're like having these new experiences, taking pictures of all these things. It's like this is incredible.
Yeah.
And then we share it because we think it's incredible. And
Yeah.
then as we get older, those things, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's great. But I don't really, I take like one picture a day at most, and I used to take like hundreds.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. It becomes more about subtle inner refinement, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got really obsessive over making a perfect cup of coffee recently. Like I bought one of those like Chemex things, like the pour over. And so I'm measuring my coffee weight now.
Oh, wow.
and I
Well,
love
okay.
it.
I tell you what, the best tip for the best coffee ever is to make it a mocha. That's what I do. Make it a mocha and add a hazelnut shot in there. You can
I
all
mean,
thank me later for
for our
that.
American audience, I don't think they truly understand this, that in England and Europe in general, like a home brewed coffee really is just instant coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people don't like coffee pots just are not a thing over there. Like some people have them, but it's like so rare.
Yeah, it is a thing, but
Yeah.
it's considered like the connoisseurs of the coffee
Oh
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even like a cappuccino, like that's pretty new to England, right? Like they didn't, cappuccinos were not a thing like 30, 40 years ago.
I don't know actually. I feel like they've been around, but maybe not in quite the same way that it is in America. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got, oh man, I had Starbucks yesterday. I felt so bad. Had no
Oh, yeah,
choice.
yeah. The devil.
I know. Yeah. The devil mermaid.
So yeah, I mean, it's all part of the joys of February, isn't it? This is the
Yeah.
seasonal part of the year. We've just come out of in bulk phase, which is, we're still meant to be in the belly, held in the cozy comforts of home. We're still meant to be wintering, and it's not quite spring equinox yet, but they've given us the season of Valentine's Day to jolly us along in between. I always wonder if that's what Valentine's Day was just chucked in there for. It's like, was this
Right.
just to keep our spirits high for the rest of the winter?
Well, I was thinking about that. We obviously didn't get to record this episode before Valentine's Day. Um, but like when it comes to it, like why does Valentine's Day exist? I mean, we look at most holidays and they exist for some kind of agricultural, solar, or cultural reason going far back into time. Whether it's Christmas because it's the final holiday before the winter sets in and it's the return of the descent of the sun and the winter solstice, or midsummer and the celebration of the high point of the sun. What is Valentine's Day a memory of in our cultural lineage?
Very good question. It doesn't really have any roots in the Celtic wheel. So that I mean
Yeah.
we have Angus, the god of love,
Mm.
and he reminds me a little bit of Cupid, but there's not really any solid connections there.
Yeah, because I
He's
don't.
known
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say he's a classic sort of blonde, curly-haired harpist with birds singing and dancing around his head. So
I
he's
almost
quite.
wonder if it's, this is just me putting a
Mm.
history nerd hat on, because we have most of our seasonal celebrations because food's very important.
Oh
But
yeah.
we also, population is important. And I wonder if Valentine's Day is something that is a memory of our desire, like our need to reproduce. Like during this time of year, you have less sun, less serotonin, less people are reproducing. And so maybe Valentine's Day is this thing that like was kind of enacted to get people back in, making babies again. Because it's like, okay, we've had our winter, everyone's cold, time to make some babies.
Yeah, 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 exactly. It probably is, isn't it? And I suppose it's this time of year where the animals are sort of getting a bit ravenous, aren't they?
Yeah,
Is it this time of year? I think it is. I don't know. Someone will have
more
to
than
correct me.
likely, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we've got a very horny pigeon actually in the garden that's
Oh,
constantly
yeah.
trying his way with another pigeon. So I
Yeah,
think it might be coming up to that time of year. So yeah, maybe it's that subtle reminder that life goes on. Life is ready to relaunch, and the sap of the land is rising.
yeah.
Um, and so it should be in ourselves as well.
Yeah, for sure. And something that we're, going to be talking about a little bit later was with love is it is to me and my personal reflections this year.
Mhm.
Um, I haven't seen the sun too much just because, as I was telling you, we've had a lot of snow. So we had like 2 or 3 weeks of being buried in snow, and it was very cold, and so we basically were just in the house or at work, and that was it. And
Yeah.
what I found is that despite having this like cozy nature being in the house, because of the lack of sun, I was not feeling very emotive. Like I wasn't feeling
Mm,
very strong emotions.
yeah.
And in the moment we got like a proper sunny day, I started feeling like more intensified emotions again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a thing, isn't it? You suddenly come back to life. It's that, maybe that's it. It's that, when life sparks back, that aliveness returns. It's it does get us thinking about creation because it's that sparks within us, the spark of creation suddenly gets
Yeah.
switched back on. And of course, what more of a creative energy than the creator energy of love making and having
Mm.
babies.
Now my mind is starting to wander a bit. So, I mean, we know it takes 9 months to make a baby. So, if you're in an ancient culture and you wanted to have the appropriate time to have a baby, when would that be? What's the best time to be 9 months pregnant, about to pop a baby out?
I mean, a lot of people say it's really good having a winter baby because you get to hibernate, and that those first few months you don't really want to be out in the world. You want to be in the cave with just
Yeah.
you and your baby. So I don't know. Maybe the winter is.
So,
I
what's a more perfect time to produce a child than in February when you would be given birth in November?
There it is. We've probably just got to it. Either that or it's a conspiracy to create more Scorpios in the world.
Is that Scorpio season? Is it in November?
Think so,
Oh,
isn't
yeah,
it?
never
It goes
mind.
into
It's all a conspiracy.
That's why there's so many Scorpios in the world because everyone's getting it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I mean,
no, I
like the
think you're
worst
right.
time to probably have a baby is probably in the middle of the summer
Yeah,
in historical sense,
yeah,
which means you don't want people reproducing in what, like the autumn.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
So now is the time, good folk, to get it on.
Make them babies.
With them babies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, like if you're, let's see, if you're getting pregnant in February, you're what, 4 or 5 months along in the summer months, so you could still probably help out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once the harvest starts kicking in, which is technically a harvest, like you need help as well. But that by that time, it's like, nope, I am fully pregnant. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, everything seems to have its roots, doesn't it? If we trace it back, everything has logical roots as well as
Yeah.
spiritual roots.
Yeah. When I think Beltane, obviously, when we look at that, we see the return to the fields, the return to livestock. And this time it's already starting to seed. Like there's already seeding times beginning for certain crops. But Beltane is the celebration of life returning and the
Yeah.
fire returning. And obviously we know the stories of the Beltane dances, the May Day dances, of the fornication afterwards. Because again, life is returning. But yeah, it is interesting that Valentine's Day is snuck in here like 2, 3 months before.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, actually, because it's like a double fertility then. There's two fertility rituals.
Just in case it
Valentine's
didn't
Day.
take.
Yeah. You get a second shot at Beltane
I
if
mean,
you
think
don't
about
make
it.
it.
If you're only categorizing getting pregnant by missing your moon, your periods, you would know if you were pregnant by
Mm.
Beltane. So if you were seeded by Valentine's Day, you would
Yeah.
know by Beltane. And if you weren't, it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
at least we got Beltane to try again.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes me wonder if maybe Beltane was more about blessing the
Mhm.
fertility. So like blessing at the early
Yeah.
start of pregnancy as well as rather than a fornication
Yeah. Um,
ritual.
hopefully I'll be able to talk more on it. It's in the other room, but I just started reading a book called A Circle of Days by Ken
Oh,
Follett, I think is the name. He wrote The Pillars of the Earth.
never had.
It's a beefy book. My gosh, it's beefy. And it's a historical fiction written at the time of Stonehenge actually being used by the original creators.
Mm.
And so it's all written from the perspective of people gathering at Stonehenge. Like the first pages are about Midsummer at Stonehenge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to dive. I'm only like 50 pages in, so I'm curious. By the time we do the next podcast, I should have it finished.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested because I obviously, Stonehenge 3,000 years ago, we really don't know anything about the culture that survived. We just know the art.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see someone's take on what that culture might have looked like.
That's interesting, isn't it? So we're sort of talking Proto-Celtic.
Oh yeah, yeah, like way, way back. Like the way that he breaks down the cultures are by their chosen like what they do. Are they farmers? Are they herders? Are they flint miners? Or are they priest
Mm.
class or whatever? And for the most part, it's completely trade-based society. There is no money, so it's literally like they show up to the market with the flint, and they're like, "I have flint. I need food," and they're like, "Great, I need flint," and so the way that was traded. Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah, very interesting, and of course the class-based structure that's created around that as well.
that is really interesting, isn't it? I wonder. So, what I wonder what they were doing for this time of year. Do you think is there any clue that in anything you've read so far?
The only thing, talking about like fertility, like the opening story is about like a young man, like 15, 16, and he's been working, leading up to midsummer because it's the good time to work, and they're meeting at midsummer to celebrate the solstice, but also to start trades, and so they do the first trade of the year
Mm.
there. And so he's been working with his family for 3 months and 3 months just with brothers and his father. And so he's just been thinking about this one woman for 3 months.
Oh,
And so it's like, yeah, you like probably are just like working until you have these like meetups and everyone gets together. And so you're not having like this chance to be with a partner until like you have one of these things. And so yeah, again, it's a lot of pressure to think about like, you're not just having a casual, let's go get coffee. It's just like, no, we're only going to see each other every 3, 4 months when we have one of these gatherings.
yeah. Yeah, interesting. So they're much more pressure. It's like Tinder, but condensed into
Yeah.
one big group.
Like one of his thought processes is like he has this, woman that he likes and she has like another suitor and he's like, crap, when I leave to go back to the Flint mines, her suitor is going to have 3 months to try again, you know?
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like you have a
Yeah.
message, it's like you just have to wait until the next thing until you see them again. And
Yeah.
also they have an intimate moment and it's like you're not even going to know if she's pregnant until like the next time you see her 3 months from now.
Oh, that's so weird, isn't it? To
Yeah.
think how different things are and how immediate things are. Like people know they're pregnant within like what's 10 days or something now of
Yeah, they
trying.
can. Yeah. If they
Yeah.
detect it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and it's
amazing.
yeah, and it's like one of the lines, and obviously it's historical fiction. Like one of the lines is the woman, he's like after they have sex or whatever, he's like, "Well, we're together now. You could be pregnant." And she's like, "I don't know that yet. We'll see."
God. So casual at the time.
Yeah.
So casual.
That is interesting. I mean, as we've said before, reading historical fiction, really thinking about the way people lived in the ancient past. Like, obviously, there's certain things that we idolize the connection to nature and things like that. But there really has never been a better time to be alive, as far as we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Life is very convenient now, at least in that
Too
way.
convenient.
That's the word. Very convenient indeed. Yeah.
Well, returning to the season, so end of winter, what should people be focusing on right now?
So, like, I was sort of I guess to sort of carry on with my original thought, it's like, if you haven't rested properly yet, these are your last few weeks to really get it in, aren't they? To be really sort of in the cave, allowing yourself to still be in the belly. In between Imbolc and spring equinox. And spring equinox is when everything quickens and everything is go, go, go and back out on the land. So for now, I would say to really enjoy the quiet and the last few weeks of wintering for those inner rituals, those inner reflections, the last shedding um, that needs to happen before we sort of get into the new year.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we, I mean, at this point, we're still in the underworld, so to speak, but we're climbing out of it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Do you feel the same? Do you feel like that's the sort of thing that you'd be advising as well? Is or
yeah. Well, just like you said with the sap, with the trees, the sap descends, and it's not alive, it's not awake. But what tells the trees it's time to come out? The sun.
sun?
And so it's the same
Yeah.
way, like I said, is I've been living in winter, but that first day of proper sun truly felt special.
Yeah.
And it's the first herald that it's time to start emerging. It's okay to be in the cave. It's okay to be in the underworld. But once the sun says hello, it's time to come out. That's when we have to start making those plans. And so while, yes, we're still in the cave, we're still in the underworld, savor that moment, read the books, but it's time to start wiggling a little bit.
Like that. Have
Yeah.
a little yawn and a wiggle and a stretch.
Yeah.
Yes, and actually, also with the sun, is I've noticed the daffodils come out around the same time, and they're like
Mhm.
little trumpets of the sun, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
little reminders of like we're here, we've made it, we're
Yeah.
about to embark on the new year. So maybe it's about just starting to spend a bit more gentle time outside, sort of going for
Yeah.
walks again, getting your serotonin builded up and things. And doing one thing I've really missed doing is land rituals.
Mm.
I really love doing land rituals with my partner. And we were both saying, oh, it'd be nice to get back out on the land and do that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I used to be a lot better about hiking in the winter, but mostly because I had mountains nearby, and mountains are more entertaining to hike than just a forest. But I'm really looking forward to doing like a proper like hour drive, hour and a half drive or something to get to something really unique and do a
Yeah.
proper hike when it's, getting more naturey outside.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yes.
brown.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's to that.
Yeah, like I have a few little forests and paths nearby, but you walk them for the millionth time in the dead of winter and they're brown and dead. It's just like, it's not quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting actually, because with the triome, the ancient triome of the Irish kind of paganism, it's Willow. It sort of comes around as Willow this time of year,
Hmm.
and although some people think Willow is actually closer to a sort of May, it sort of works out this way if you do it as the proper 20 trees. It
Hmm.
loops itself back round. And Willow is really all about the inner journey as well as being connected to nature. So it's like, if you think about the weeping willow, it's kind of this beautiful liminal tree, but it's
Hmm.
still nature. So it's like connecting to the liminal layers of nature, being out there and sort of connecting and hiking or whatever it is that you do to connect to nature, but allowing yourselves to still be in the drift of the winter, the inner dreaming.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
So is that the tree you connect to the most, you think, as far as like how to connect to this time of year?
Yeah, at least at the moment, I do one tree a month, and at the moment it's willow, and
Hmm.
it feels it's very liminal, dreamy tree, and very yeah, beautiful energy to work with. Very much like the cauldron, the brewing cauldron that's still
Hmm.
asleep but very much active and starting to bubble.
Yeah, and I think isn't you might not know this either, but isn't this the time of year that maple starts being able to be harvested? I think it is.
Possibly, maybe. So, I'm not so
I
sure
might
on
look
that.
that up because I know around here there's actually something called Maple Fest.
Oh, like maple syrup,
Yeah, and they celebrated maple. It's literally a festival celebrated around maple syrup.
just in
Um,
time for
oh
Pancake
yeah,
Day.
maple syrup is primarily harvested in late winter and early spring.
Is that why Pancake Day is here? Was it more about the maple syrup than the pancakes? Who
Yeah,
came
yeah,
first, the chicken or the egg?
that's interesting. Oh, it's often referred to as sugar season.
Hmm, that's interesting.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, so yeah, the reason I know this is because I love me a maple beer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I
it's the
haven't
only
tried
time of
that.
year I usually can get maple beer.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Well, um, if there's something, someone could be doing right now as far as, connecting to this the most spiritual way, would you say it is just starting to emerge into nature a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe so. Spend gentle time in nature. And I think maybe doing a few little rituals about emergence. So anything that you're wanting to manifest or dream up or vision into being, I would say now is a really nice time to start bringing that manifestation from the dream world into the living. Whether it's like, planting seeds of intention, doing little rituals on the land, sort of writing things that you want to bring into sort of journaling and bringing things into fruition that way, sort of trying to bring things into this realm a little bit as ideas. Still not fully
Yeah.
birthing them, but just bringing the ideas
Yeah.
through. I'd say any magic that you can do around that, whilst still leaning heavily into self care and all the lovely things that come with the wintering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing about this time of year is not trying to fully birth something.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I directly reflect this with the tattooing is I'm very much in just like a not necessarily a dry period, but a very just like plateau period of tattooing right now. I go to the shop as much as I can and I'm practicing my techniques, practicing drawing, coloring, things like that, but it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere because it's still winter.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't force it like, I shouldn't use all my energy, all my good ideas now. now's the time to continue to work on things, build our techniques, grow, make a plan, but not fully embody that plan yet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That makes perfect sense.
Before we move on to our theme of the video, which is lessons in love and things like that, is are there any deities you think you connect to or could connect to more deeply in this time of year?
Oh, I would say Angus, actually, because he is
Mm.
the god of love, and he's a poet and a bard and very romantic in his way, and he's always seducing women in the Celtic folklore. I think he's a really nice one to connect to this time of year, especially that's probably the one little link there is to Valentine's Day. So I'd say Angus from the Celtic pantheon. And mainly because when you're writing poetry, that is a form of magic and romanticizing, whether that's showing love to yourself as a form of self care or to another. They're both very romantic things we can do as expressions of creative life force slowly starting to re-emerge. So there's something about that, I think. His energy is very beautiful this time of year.
Yeah.
What about you? From what so much in your Celtic, not the Celtic pantheon, but more the sort of
Yeah.
Nordic.
There's definitely some things to throw out there. I would say myself personally, as I made in a video earlier this year, as for me, Bridget is definitely something I've been focusing on, mostly because of my
Mm.
creative work recently. Is I really connect to Bridget as an energy. Obviously, Imbolc was recent, and so that's her day, and so obviously her energies are very much present during this time of year. The first emergence of spring, the first emergence of the flowers, return of the sun, spark of
Mm.
creativity. But also to me, it's that balance of fire and flame, the sacred water and the sacred flame. As we still need the sacred flame right now to keep us warm. But the time of, like I still do my reflection on sauna and cold exposure, going to the cold, going to the warmth, the polarity between those two things. The best way to forge steel is you have to quench the blade afterwards. So you go from extreme heat to, the cold afterwards. So yeah, there's just a lot I think to reflect on the spirit of creativity and the balance between those two things, and I think we're in the middle point of the balance between the light and the darkness.
Yeah.
Um, and so she's an interesting one to connect to. But I think in the Scandinavian sense, in the Norse sense, like I said, I recently went skiing, and I'm not a great skier. I'm relatively new to it, and so I'm terrible. But the moment I got it, like I wasn't wiping out. I was actually picking up some speed and not, looking like a complete fool. There was this beautiful moment where I came around this bend and I looked up and the moon was like ascending above the horizon and it was just getting dark and there's snow everywhere. And I just had like a grateful moment to Ullr and Skadi, which are the like Norse gods and goddesses of skiing in the winter months. Uh, and yeah, there's something connection there, actively skiing on a snowy slope, looking at Moon Mani, the moon god or moon goddess, depending on how you look at it. And yeah, there's just like a nice synchronicity of the reason that people can, like what other cultures have a skiing god. It's a very unique god to connect to.
It's
Uh,
very unique.
yeah, like the fact that there's two, like you have two gods associated with skiing in the Scandinavian tradition.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's an interesting thing to connect to. And obviously, the best way to do that is to be actively doing that act. And,
Yeah.
Skadi is also connected to mountains in general, obviously connected to skiing. And so being grateful to those winter presences that, much like the Kaliak, could take us away at any point. When you're skiing, it's a very dangerous sport. People die skiing all the time or get seriously injured. And so I
Yeah.
think having a prayer to Skadi or Ullr for their blessings and the blessings of the mountains, and the blessings of the cold to not take life away from us as we try to find enjoyment during these times of year.
Yeah.
Because obviously, skiing, one of the things that's a benefit is it gives us a way to actually command the snow, to find joy, to travel quickly in a time of year that we're not supposed to be doing that. And so, yeah, I think giving thanks to those beings for what they do for us is really powerful. But it's a very unique one because not everyone gets to ski.
Yeah, that is very unique, isn't it? I didn't know there was a specific deity for it. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually really
that's
cool. I was telling my partner about this is one of the oldest carvings of a skier, I think, is in Norway or Sweden or somewhere, and it's
mm.
actually it looks like a woman on skis, and so a lot of people think that is like one of the oldest depictions of a god or goddess, and it's a ski god or goddess.
Whoa, that's crazy,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
but sadly it was defaced a couple of years ago.
Oh no, that's
Yeah,
when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So what someone did is, it was a really light carving, and someone went in with like a key and scratched it. So like the carving's still there, but it's completely destroyed with the scratch marks on top of it.
Oh, that's totally senseless, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Amateur archaeologist trying to preserve something very poorly. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, or a child.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
child.
yeah. So yeah, no, that's an interesting one. And then of
Yeah.
course, like, if you're getting deep and metaphysical about it, connecting to Odin, connecting to Balder as well would be a good being. Balder is much like Angus, a god of light, god of joy. And he also has a descent into the underworld and a return. So there's a connection there, even with, Helios and the sun in general and Apollo.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of synchronicities there. But yeah, I think Ulu and
Yeah.
Skadi are the ones that I'll stick with, just because it was a new experience for me.
Mm.
Do I know how to turn that into alchemize that into something like deep and poetic? Maybe not, but there is just something nice about being alive, enjoying the snow while we have it.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I really love that. There's something about the snow that's such a reminder of like the winter as well, isn't it? It's so connected with the winter. So to be in touch with that is a beautiful way to experience the wintering, but also getting back out on the land.
So, as always, we're going to take a brief pause here because we don't have any sponsors here. We don't have any of the big fancy names giving us any money to talk to you. All we have is your love and your kindness to us. Of course, we always love everyone listening to this. We have a really great audience of not that many hundreds of people, but you're all amazing. And thank you for listening to us every month. So, if you do want to support Kubi and I, here's how you do it. Kubi, what you got?
Thanks, Jacob. So, as always, the Path of the Oak continues, which is my 20-month long course in druidry, land magic, ancestral rituals, herbalism. It's all packed in there, and it's a month by month journey with me and lots of other students that are on the same path. So, if you'd like to sign up to that, it's available online. It's a really beautiful, in-depth walk through paganism. And all things magic and deep. So that's on my website, which I think the link is around somewhere.
It
Somewhere.
could be somewhere.
But, but that's qbmaycrafts.com. And then just head straight to Path of the Oak under the workshops.
Nice.
And also my folklore tours with Edward are now up and ready. And also my private ones. So if you want to come to Glastonbury and Avalon and do a day of ritual and magic with me, or have a tour of some of the sacred sites of England, of Britain, of Stonehenge, Avebury. Me and my partner do magical folklore tours of that. So that's also now, you can book in for that, for whether it's for yourself or a big retreat that you want to host. We do small groups and big groups as well.
Yeah, I mean that reminds me. I know we've whispered about it before. I do think it'd be fun to do like a larger excursion for, and like plan everything out. People get picked up, and we all do a little
Yeah,
excursion around Glastonbury. I think would be a lot of fun. And
so much fun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, let us know because that would be fun. Anyways, if you want to support me, the best way to do that right now is, of course, in person. If you want to come into Ohio and get a ceremonial hand poke tattoo, still doing those, still practicing, still learning, moving on to electric a little bit just to learn that. But yeah, it's been an amazing process of continuing to learn and grow, and I've just enjoyed talking to people. I don't have a ton of clients yet, but the few I do, we get a cup of coffee, we talk about your spiritual needs. So we don't necessarily talk about the visuals of your tattoo. We talk about the spiritualness of it first. And it's like, do you want to connect to a god? What energy do you want to connect to? Where on the body do you want it? And then from that conversation, we start crafting that tattoo and then crafting the ritual around it. And so it's been a really beautiful process. Just getting to chat with people about their needs and their desires for this tattoo, and then of course being able to bring that all into a ceremony and give someone the gift of something that lasts for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so yeah, really enjoying that, and so that's one of the best ways to support me now. Otherwise, just a little update on videos in case you're interested. I just released my Odin video, kind of reflecting on 9 years of my journey with him. And the interesting thing I was talking about with Kubi is I really want to get into doing more interviews. I want to tell other people's stories more. I've shared my face enough online. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting connected with other people and sharing their stories online. So, of course, those videos will be coming in the future, but there might be a pause in videos until then, until I figure out what that looks like. Anyways, let's get back to this video discussing now lessons in love. The idea for this kind of conversation and this topic of this video with love is love, it's, oh gosh, it's such a cheesy thing, right? Like there's been so much discussed on love when it comes to romantic movies or cheesy quotes or books. Love is a very uniquely, as far as we know, human thing, and it's very
Mm.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's the core of life,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like no wonder there's such an energy and a push towards it.
What's one of your most early memories of what love is? Do you have a memory that is
Oh,
associated with love very early on?
that's a really sweet question. I remember getting married when I was like 6 in the playground. So there was a, I
Wow,
think
you've
I've
been married
always
so
been
long.
so long.
Zed
I
would
need to
know.
divorce this chap. I haven't seen him in years. But no, I think I've always been a romantic soul. I've always been very aware that like I wanted something very traditional and like with a union with somebody. That's something that was just in me very naturally from a young age. So I would say even as young as that, that felt very real to me, that marriage
Hmm.
at the age of 6. Yeah. What about you? Do you remember becoming aware of what love was or romance was from a young
Yeah.
age?
Well, I think we can obviously discuss love as a many faceted thing. My first, being a young man and, obviously love and hormones mixing, and learning what that is and being young, it's just like, it's such a diabolical thing. You know, you have that first crush, and it's like life is meaningless without that crush. And I know I'm not alone in that. Like, you feel that, like, the first person you have a crush on, you're sweaty, your palms are, wet. I remember the first time I gave a gift to a girl. I was in band, I was a clarinet player, and she was a bassoon player. And I remember
Oh,
I was on a family holiday and I bought like a necklace for her. I didn't even like express my feelings towards her. And I just like was so nervous going into school that day. I had it in my pocket, and I'm sure this thing got like wet in my pocket because I was sweating so much thinking about giving this girl this necklace. And I remember I was so nervous I couldn't even say anything. I just pulled out and like slapped it on the table. I'm like, I got this for you. It's like I've been obsessing over this thing, and it all built to this moment. And she was like, "Oh, thanks, it's nice." And I'm like, "Thank you so much."
so
Like,
sweet.
those feelings are just so intense when we're young, when you're first experiencing them the first time. And I mean, it continues to that to be. I think anytime you start a new relationship, those feelings and the way we process them, it's very fascinating.
You've got the chemical rush, like the literal
Yeah.
cocktail of like, what is it, oxytocin, dopamine, it's all rushing in. Like,
Everything, yeah. And the amount of pressure we put on that too. We were talking about that book, and like you might in the ancient days might only see your intended love like a few times before you got married or committed for life. But life was much shorter back then. It was like a 10, 15 year sentence.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it is interesting, just, for as far as we know, back into time, love had a lot of pressure on it because of the logistics of love. And now, especially in the age of the internet, there's a much different pressure on romantic interest because we're in constant communication.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a whole different game, isn't it? It's now not just the sweethearts that are in your own village or the
Mm,
town next door. It's we've got this access through things like Tinder where you can just like match with people even in different countries and things like that. So it's
yeah.
it's a whole different feeling of like rather than the sort of tribe expanding or your village expanding, it's now something that's much bigger and almost overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, even thinking about it, like back when I was a teenager, I didn't have a cell phone really until I was like 16. And even then, I think I had the limit on text messages. It was almost still like writing letters. I only had like 100 texts a month. And I remember like texting a girl I liked and running out of minutes. running out of text, and I'm like, no. So I had like one text left, so I had to make it really count, really put my poetic nature in
Oh.
there, and then like send it, and it's like, all right, that's it. That's all I got for the month.
Oh, gosh, that's so sad, isn't it? How times have changed from that. And before that, it would have been, of course, letter writing, which is
Yeah.
so romantic. And, I almost wish we could just banish phones and the internet just so we could have at least a couple of months of proper romance
All
and
right.
letter writing.
Yeah. I mean, living with a partner obviously makes it, there's a whole nother challenge. There's so many layers to love,
Mm,
and romantic love. And, it's something I know my partner and I try to do is we still write each other notes and cards and things like that just to make sure that that stuff doesn't die.
yeah,
And obviously texting changes as we get into mature relationships. Hopefully you don't need to constantly be in contact with one another. But occasionally if you do text, it's, just something sweet,
yeah,
which is nice.
yeah, that's really sweet, isn't it? Yes, and it's a good question actually. Sort of the idea of like how does how do you keep a spark alive as well once it's gone? Because we're so used to this, it's like a fast food nation now, isn't it? Everything is the next thing, the next best thing, the next this, the next that. And it's all to do with immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think what you're talking about there is like the love that builds gradually over the years and
Yeah.
becomes almost sweeter with time. And I think that's just such a lovely idea of keeping the little notes going and things like that.
Yeah. And there is such a huge thing, obviously there's a lot of psychology around love. There's so much around it. But love languages and things like that is finding someone that's compatible with your love language. Because not, maybe people don't want that. There's people out there that possibly don't want notes written to them. But for, myself and, sounds like having things like that done means a lot.
Yeah,
And other
yeah,
people, they might be
exactly.
like, what the fuck are you doing?
So cringe.
Right. Yeah.
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 I am fully aware that I'm an incredibly cringy romantic person to most people, but
Yeah.
luckily my beloved Edward he's happy to
Yeah.
be on the receiving end of that. So that's good.
Yeah. I do find that, and I don't know how you feel about this, but now that I'm getting older and wiser and have more experience, I look back at a lot of the shows I idolized or figures I idolized when it came to love, and now I'm like, I can't believe I followed that advice. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like I used to love watching How I Met Your Mother. Like it was my like show. It was what I watched when I was like a teenager and into my young 20s, and now I
mm,
watched it and I'm like, this is terrible advice.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of codependency
Yeah.
underpinning themes in romantic films that are sort of, and even in Disney films to some extent, actually, the idea that you're completely reliant on somebody for your
Yeah.
survival isn't particularly healthy. But then, I don't know, some films are so great, are they? I made Edward watch The Notebook the other day.
Oh, I've still never seen it.
Oh, I mean, it's funny because you can watch it and be like, there's a lot of actual toxic connections in here. There's a
Mm,
lot of like betrayal and things like that, and themes of sort of unhealthy attachment. But then there's that feeling of like clinging to that sort of love that just, it's just that's your one person, and you'll do anything for them. And
mm.
you have to watch that film, Jacob. It's
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of good things. I might have watched it, but it was with like when I was a teenager, and again, like I was just sitting there sweating as I was just like, "Can I hold her hand?" You know. And so I
stretching
have kept it away.
continued throughout the years. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, bless. But yeah, compatibility is very important. I think it's important, isn't it, to get not only your love language right, but to be able to be with someone that really understands your inner world, somebody
Yeah.
that really sort of can run with your own sense of magic. That because
Yeah.
there's different people respond differently to the world, and we forget that, don't we? We almost assume people see the world in the same way we see it, or they
Mm,
interact with the same way we interact with the world. But especially as a pagan, for me, what was something that was so important was finding somebody that I could sort of go out onto the land with, do rituals with,
yeah.
uh, you know, write songs together with drums with, and things like that. And that's something I realized much later on in life that was something that was really core for me, really key to have that inner world matched up with somebody
Mm,
else's inner world. And obviously, it's nice to have differences as well. Like it's it's sometimes even more beautiful in a way to come from different walks of life and to learn from each other.
Yeah.
But it's there's a real spiritual factor of growing next to someone in love, isn't there? It's about growing next to someone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And then that's a whole nother thing too, is, if you're growing next to someone and all of a sudden you grow into two different people that don't actually connect anymore, that's one of the problems of love.
Yeah.
Especially young love, people that have been together since high school. That's always my greatest concern if someone's been together with someone that long. Like, have you been allowed to continue to grow as individuals? Because
Yeah.
obviously who we are at 16 and 25 or 30 are so drastically different. And there's a
Yeah.
good chance that if you've been together since 16, that, you grow into two separate people, or you've actually stunted each other's growth because you're trying to stay together.
That's true, actually. There's a few people I know, like literally a couple of couples that I know that have managed to do that very successfully.
Yeah.
And you can kind of it's lovely to almost go back on their timeline, on
Mm,
their Instagram and stuff, and you see how much they've grown and they've almost morphed at the same time into different
yeah.
people. You think, God, that's very well done. That must be really hard to
Yeah.
allow that expansion in one another. Because we like what we like, don't we, as humans? We like people to
Yeah.
stay the same almost. It's familiar, it's comfortable. But
Yeah.
life is about expansion and growth. And you should be someone different in 10 years' time,
Mm.
and your partner should be your number one supporter of that, I suppose.
So looking back at 16-year-old Kubi,
Oh
what
my
would
God.
what advice would you give 16-year-old Kubi on love?
Oh my gosh, 16-year-old QB. Yeah, I used to really wear my heart on my sleeve a
Mm,
lot. I was quite idealistic, horribly codependent, I would say as well, and had a very sort of pie-eyed Disney view of love. And I think probably one of the most important things would be not to lose myself in the process of love. I would go
mm,
back and advise that of my younger self, and just to maybe even encourage relationship with myself before relationship
yeah.
with another,
Hmm.
that knowing how to love yourself first and how to really honor and respect yourself first before
Yeah.
bringing that to the table in another. So there's that. I mean, I feel very fortunate that I think life was saving the best till last. And I'm
Mm,
very happy to say that about my current partner, that
yeah.
there's something about our connection that 16-year-old QB would have been delighted to have met at 16. So
Yeah.
I almost wish I could timeline jump or stitch the two together
Yeah.
in some way. But of course, that's just wishful thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's so many different avenues, and it's interesting about this topic because I feel like it's one we avoid sometimes in like everyday talk. Like we
Yeah.
don't often talk to strangers at the coffee shop about love and how love is going, but it's
Yeah.
also usually the number one drama in people's lives is seeking love, pursuing love, keeping love, losing love. It's such a core part of our human being and our human experience, and it's an undeniable part of it.
Yeah.
It's something we all go through waves of good and bad. And yeah, it is interesting because we all have a story. We all have mini stories.
Absolutely. I mean, I wonder if it comes down to the idea of, like how everyone's a mirror. And this
Mm,
idea that the people we're closest to are our most
yeah,
immediate mirrors. They reflect our beauty back at us and our darkness as well, the light and the
yeah,
shadow. And so to be in relation with another is actually the biggest times of growth I've noticed in my own life. That's
mm,
when growth really accelerates. And perhaps that's so key is you almost get to meet God, whether you want to call it God, the gods, the
yeah,
universe, the cosmos. You get to, or maybe your own depth of psyche through another.
yeah,
That's incredible, isn't it? You can have all these adventures around the globe, but
yeah,
still not hit that depth of learning until you are face to face with another in
mm,
love.
yeah, yeah. And I think the only caution I throw at that is like staying with someone too long. Because I think
Mm,
every relationship we have, whether it's for a minute or for 30 years, every relationship teaches us something. But oftentimes I find with people that one of the lessons that they refuse to learn that it is letting go, of
yeah.
letting go of the relationship that no longer serves you, and no longer is healthy. I mean, I've had endless conversations with people in relationships that clearly are no longer healthy, but they haven't learned the act of letting go
Yeah.
because it's
Oh,
scary.
what it is, it's so scary, isn't it? Because it's change. It's
Yeah.
it's the jump into the unknown. It's that feeling of being lonely in a big, big world that can be quite
Hmm.
scary. it really hones in on some animal instincts, doesn't it, to leave another if
Yeah.
something hasn't worked out.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, like, maturity is such a big thing, relieving relationships in the right way. You know, I've had just like everyone, I've had great breakups, I've had bad breakups. It's
Yeah.
just life. Does it end on an explosive moment, or does it end because it just was natural and you walked away, or did it linger too
Yeah.
long?
Yeah. What's that thing called that people are doing now? Conscious uncoupling. And
What the
that's
fuck is that?
well, it exists in the spiritual communities here. I can
Oh
tell
my
you that
God.
much.
It
But
sounds like
actually,
some
just
Gen Alpha stuff to me.
it probably is.
Yeah.
But actually, I have to admire there's a couple of people I know that have done that, and I've seen it done really well, where they've managed to maintain friendship and just really thank each other for the lessons
Mm.
that they learnt together, whilst acknowledging that this isn't particularly useful for them to stay together, or perhaps their paths have taken them on different
Mm.
directions. And I've seen a couple of people do it really gracefully, and I really admire that when it
Yeah.
can be done with elegance and with still friendship intact and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, again, we're getting into so many cliches of like, can exes remain friends? And it's like, sure they can, but is there a reason for it? Because oftentimes when we leave a relationship, it's because, we often find that the romantic connection dries up and you realize you actually don't like the person on the other side. And so obviously, if you find out the reason that you're breaking up with someone is because you find out that you actually just don't like them as a person, you probably shouldn't be friends. You know?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. And sometimes things start as friendship and they go into the relationship, and
Yeah.
then you sort of realize, oh, this was just always meant to be a friendship the
Yeah.
whole time. So that can be quite tricky to navigate as well. But yeah, there's so many lessons to love, aren't there?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do
And
think that, like you said, I think a lot of these lessons you don't know. You can have, there could be a 14-year-old listening to us talk right now, and they're like, "Oh, this is all bullshit. No, no, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be better than that." And then,
yeah,
because that 14-year-old was me, that 16-year-old was me, that 25-year-old was me. You always think you're not going to fall into those pitfalls you've always heard about, but oftentimes we do. And it's not
yeah,
until we go through that lesson that we're like, "Holy shit!" There's a reason that so many people say this.
yeah, yeah. It's a very human common trait, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, here's a good question, especially for our pagan listeners, is as a pagan, how does love grow you? Like, at what part of paganism can it add more branches to the tree of paganism and the journey of paganism by being in love with another and walking through life with
Mm.
another?
Well, I think we all embody the gods in different ways. And I think again that's
Mm,
the beauty of animism, of polytheism, is we're so uniquely individuals. Like obviously some people reflect more Odin energy, more Thor energy, more Freya
mm,
energy, more Skadi energy. Like that's again the beauty of it. Like I can't imagine, now being in a pagan life, looking back on monotheism and realizing that I didn't have different archetypal figures to look up to. Of course, I looked up to TV shows and superheroes
mm,
because I didn't have that in my religion.
yeah.
Um, and I think looking at paganism, it's like I can look at other people and be like, you embody the earth goddess, you embody the sun god.
Mm,
And myself, what am I embodying right now? And it's like, okay, if I'm embodying this, I need to look for someone that embodies that. And
yeah.
for me, perfectly, diving into my own personal thing, after so many years with Odin, I was just like, I really need a grounding presence. I don't need some fiery goddess. I don't need some, mythical creature woman. I need someone that embodies the earth. And who do I
Yeah.
end up with but a woman that wears green all the time, a woman who
Yeah.
embodies the earth and loves those things and loves quiet evenings. Like I ended up with a woman who embodies earth energy and the earth goddess.
That
Um,
is so beautiful, isn't it?
yeah,
Like, how gorgeous is that? And that's the completion, isn't it, of that beautiful dual, the yin and the yang in a
yeah.
way. It's the earth and the sun coming together in union.
Yeah. So of course, if you're, someone embodying their Freya time, like you're in someone that is just out having sex all the time, pursuing so many different things, you should probably not find someone that's embodying their, Freyr energy, someone that just wants to settle down and have a family. Like that would
Mm.
be wrong of you to pursue. But if you find someone else who's also in their Freya time, who's just frolicking about, you're going to have an amazing time.
Yeah.
Uh, but all of a sudden, you're going to transition at some point, more than likely. Maybe not, but maybe you transition into a more mature form of Freya. Like I have someone who's a committed husband and always has been who follows Freya, and he's
Right.
shifted. into, he's never had that, frolicking love. He's always had the Freya that was always looking out for a husband. That's one of the other stories of Freya, that
Mm.
she had a husband out there that she was looking for.
That's
And so it's
beautiful.
like we can also mirror different aspects of different gods as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And you know what I love, right, is that perhaps this is the ultimate reason that we were even created by the gods. If
Mm.
that perhaps it explains the whole reason why we're here and doing the pagan journey, is this how the gods, say the sun god, gets to meet the earth goddess
Mm.
is through us and the emotions we experience. Like maybe we're the bridge between the union of the earth and the sun. We are
Yeah.
the humans are that meeting point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we can get scientific with it too. In our known universe, as far as we know, I mean, aliens definitely exist. We both agree on that. But at the same time, as far as we know, we don't know any other ones. We don't know anyone that has the same feelings, the same emotions, the same experiences we do. More than
Mm,
likely there is, but we don't know to what extent.
yeah.
And so, as far as we know, in our solar system, in our section of the galaxy, we're the only people that get to experience life this way. And so you can either see that as random chance or as a gift from the gods. That you have this gigantic ball of nuclear energy that is the sun. You have our radiating iron-filled core planet that are beautiful and wonderful and magical, and we barely understand them truly. But they don't get to experience these things like we do. And so, what more perfect sense? We are the children of these two things, from the life-giving waters of the earth and the minerals to the sun and its warmth, and we get to experience those things for them.
Isn't that just the most profoundly beautiful thing? And so perfectly put, Jacob, as well. That's exactly, for me, that resonates as such deep truth that's why it's so important and sacred to be human. That's why
Mhm.
things like suicide is always marked as like one of the ultimate sins in a lot of religions,
Mm.
because to be alive is a gift, because
Yeah,
we simply get to feel, we get to experience this greater depth of emotion for the good and the bad. But
yeah,
either way, it's that deepening. It's a
yeah.
deepening of character and deepening of what it means to be alive.
Yeah, and I think, to touch on what you said about like suicide, just so we can kind of expand on that for anyone that might have like, triggered a little bit. Like, because I know you and I think very similarly, is if someone is struggling with that, if you are struggling with the depression,
Mm,
I think one of the greatest ways to dig out of it is to find those simple pleasures.
yeah.
Like, fuck taxes and all that. Like, whatever, dude. Like, whatever, this government and Trump and whatever. Like, at the end of the day, is this apple not delicious? Is this coffee not
Yes.
delicious? Return to those simple pleasures. Don't let yourself get weighed down by the large pressures of the world, because a lot of these things aren't in our control. We can only control so much. And I know that's one of the depressions a lot of people carry, is feeling out of control.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely. And
and what we,
do you know what? I can actually really resonate with that. I had
yeah,
a real sort of heavy month last month, really feeling weighed down by some of the heavier things in the world. And I think you're right. It's that thing of like you lean into what's still beautiful and what's always
mm,
around and always accessible.
yeah,
Even just things like writing a list of gratitude each
mhm,
day, because that's a way to fall not in love with a partner, but to fall back in love with life. Like to
yeah,
be writing something that you're noticing each day, whether it's the sunshine looked beautiful today, or, you know, that cup of tea tasted delicious. All of these things are perhaps completely unique to the earth experience.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mm,
And yeah, there's a few avenues I can go down, and I don't know how much backstory I want to give, but like I was telling you, that book I was reading, it's a movie coming out next month. It's called Project Hail Mary,
mm,
and it's about this how to save the Earth. Basically, it's one of those, like, the sun's dimming, so you go out and someone's trying to save it, and it's a lot of reflections, and there's a lot of really interesting dialogue on the importance of human life. Because at the end of the day, we could sit here and be like, yeah, we're ravenous, warlike creatures. We're always killing each other
mm.
for our resources and all this. But then, it sounds so hippie, but it's like, what about sunsets? Sunsets are great,
Yeah, yeah. Have
and
you
how much we,
seen sunsets?
yeah, like they're great. Yeah. Have you tasted good food? God, it's great,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And,
Exactly. It's the
and it
little
is
thing.
it is so easy to focus on the negative, especially in our news and social
Mm,
media world. Is Yeah, of course you can get overburdened with the negative in the world. But I
mm.
think if you actually try, you can get overburdened with the good in the world too.
Oh, yeah. That's it, isn't it? It's fill the cup up with the beauty instead of the
Yeah.
horrors of the world. And
Yeah.
yeah. So there's that's another sort of level of romance, isn't there? There's like a
Mm,
romance with one another, with
yeah,
in union, divine union with someone, and then there's romance with yourself, which is self-care. And I think what we're talking about right now is that romance with the world
yeah.
itself, like falling in love with life
Mm.
and yeah, what it is just to be alive.
Yeah, and I think it's it's always important to when people listen to us talk and they get inspired
Mm.
by us is it's important to note that we both fail too. We both I always call it getting disenchanted with the world.
Yeah.
Is occasionally like there's some days I wake up and I'm like this coffee is perfect. I don't mind doing the dishes, laundry, whatever. Oh, everything's great. And then there's other days I'm like I don't want to do these fucking dishes. I don't want to do this laundry again. Like
I didn't reincarnate here to do dishes.
like, what is this? Taxes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it is so easy to disenchanted. I mean, there's never going to be a time when we don't fall disenchanted every now and then. But some
Yeah.
reason, there's a magical formula that comes together in life where all of a sudden everything is magical again. It's like, you know what? The dishes aren't so bad.
Yeah.
Doing the
It's
laundry.
actually a hand spa.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe that's one of the real advantages that come with being on the pagan path
Mm,
as well, is that idea that it's really rooted in appreciation for the
yeah.
natural world and for the essence of being alive. That's the kind of underpinning ethos
Yeah.
behind paganism, isn't it? It's to be in love with life. And you're so right that when the world does get heavy and that disenchantment does happen, and it happens to all of us, no matter how enthralled we are to be connected
Mm,
with the gods and the magic of the world, like you said, there's still always the dark night of the soul. And winter in particular,
yeah.
when the serotonin is running out, it's so normal and so okay to feel not okay. Like
Yeah.
that's really important that we make that clear to our viewers, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think expressing love, even sometimes when we don't feel it, can be
Mm.
difficult. But there's so many different ways to express love, and that's something that it took me a long time to learn. I've always been a hopeless romantic,
Yeah.
and if I don't have active romantic love in my life, I get so disenchanted with the world because it feels like
Yeah.
it's worthless.
Oh,
Um, one of my favorite stories to tell, and I've told it a little bit in a video, but I remember being in the fjords of Norway, a place that young Jacob had been like, "You will never make it there," and I was so pissed off. I was sitting in a freaking fjord in Norway, and all of a sudden I'm just sitting here. I'm like, "Why am I alone? Why have I not found love?" And so it's like I was just so angry about being, I'd been single for a couple of years at that point, and it's just like, and I think I was flirting with someone and didn't go anywhere, and I, went out there. I'm like, why am I alone? Gods, shouting out there, and it's just like the irony of being in the fjords of Norway, a place, that would should be a dream to me, and being angry because of my emotions and feeling alone in love.
yeah.
It can be hard, but at the end of the day, that fjord existed. And it's still there right now, and it's been there for thousands of years, and it will be a constant. And love can be that constant that we can tap into, and it doesn't have to be romantic love, but romantic love probably is the most volatile one that makes us feel disconnected from the ever beautiful, enchanting world and love that's around us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not always roses. And yeah, I mean, what would you say? So for somebody that is feeling quite alone listening to this, and that's the thing about Valentine's Day and this time of year, is it can sometimes really enhance that feeling of being
Mm,
lonely with the world. What would you say would be your best advice as a pagan trying to find your other sweetheart, your other,
mm,
spiritual counterpart in the world? Because it's quite hard, isn't it? I mean, it's
yeah.
hard to find love anyway, but it's
Um,
particularly hard to find somebody that's in alignment
yeah.
with your
Um,
inner world.
So yeah, a few things to say. One thing that you've already said is you have to love yourself first. And that is a long journey. It's not something that happens overnight. And I think that's the hardest part about it, is it took me a long time and I still battle it sometimes, but you have to love yourself first. You
Mm,
cannot truly, genuinely love someone else until you love yourself. You might be able to express it at times, but eventually your own self-loathing will come through. And it often is the cause of a lot of problems in relationships. And we see that all the time in relationships that fall apart or are loveless. It's because the individuals never actually love themselves first. Uh,
yes, there can be an element of self-sabotage if there's
yeah.
not true self-love going into a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have to be able to self-regulate. We all have the ups and downs in life. And if you haven't found that self-love, it gets really hard to self-regulate. Like when you have
Mm.
that bad day, like my partner and I now, when we both have bad days, we communicate that. And it's like we both know how to handle it. We don't rely on the other one to be each other's happiness. We
Yeah.
can find happiness on our own and then also create it together. Um,
That's
and
beautiful.
and that
Yeah.
took me a long time. I've been through relationships where that was the case, where we didn't have self-love and we only relied on each other's love for one another to fill that void. And that's a very dangerous road.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts to feel more like a life or death situation then, doesn't it? Instead
Yeah.
of a beautiful journey that you're walking side by side with each
Yeah.
other.
Um,
Yeah.
the second piece of advice I have, and this is personal advice that I've learned, but also I think it's true spiritually, is always being honest. Always.
Mm,
It sounds silly, but honestly, I really do try never to lie about anything, about how I feel, whether it's not a funny joke or
mm,
if I actually dislike the food or if that dress doesn't look good. Obviously, we can smooth the edges on how we communicate things. You can be rude and honest, and you can be kind and honest. Obviously,
yeah.
try to be kind and honest. But I find that being kind, honest always. Obviously, try to be kind at the same time, but always be honest. Especially when getting into a relationship for the first time, like the basic things, like, do you want kids? Okay. Does the partner you're dealing with want kids? If the answer is no, you shouldn't be
Mhm.
with them. It's that simple.
Exactly.
It's over.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Me and
Yeah.
Edward, before we had even kissed, had a this sounds so intense to people, but we had like a conversation, a big conversation
Yeah.
about if we were aligned in that, if we both wanted the
Yeah.
same things, what we imagined the next 10 years were going to look like. Because so many people, you hear it all the time, they fall madly in love, they let all the chemical hormones rush in, and then they realize like something major like that, like one of you doesn't want kids, or
Yeah.
what you expect from a partner is completely different from the other person as well. It can be that. So it's so good to get very
Mhm.
clear with that. And I think the right person won't be scared off by it. The right person will
Yeah.
actually enjoy that integrity.
Well, look at, without going into too much information on my own
Mm.
relationship, as I've said in the podcast before, my current partner is Catholic. And
Mm.
within my first date with her, first date, just a cup of wine, no kissing, no physical touch, nothing. I had mentioned the fact that I had done ayahuasca, that I was pagan, that I wanted children, and that I was a world traveling YouTuber, and I was coming back, and I had no idea what I was doing with my life. And this was all said on the first date because I had learned that, there's certain things that if someone isn't cool with, they need to know right away. Like if she
Yeah.
wouldn't be cool with the fact that I was a pagan, studied shamanism, did ayahuasca, those are all
Yeah.
things that just go ahead and we need to not continue.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just making the road clear, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's clarity.
And
So that's
somehow this
mm.
Catholic continued to date me. That was
I
date one.
That's very sweet, isn't it? How's
Yeah,
that for
exactly.
acceptance? Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you are actually a good example that your spiritual values don't always have to align, as long as your moral values do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You
No,
know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in all honesty, like her and I have never tried to convert one another.
Mm,
I've been to mass, she's been to a pagan gathering, and there's never been a moment where it's like you have to choose this or the relationship ever.
yeah.
And isn't that all we could ask for?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my phone's doing something.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Sorry.
seriously, I mean, she's been to Glastonbury. If she can survive Glastonbury, she can survive anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. No, I totally agree with everything that you've just said. And I think, the most important thing you said there was, go into a relationship with self-love intact, because you will attract the shadows that are unhealed.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing I've observed in my own life. You attract the things that still need love from you, and
Mm.
it will come out. It will come out through that person, and it'll be tempted to call it fate, but
Yeah.
actually it's just something in your psyche has just recognized, I need to deal with this, and it will go through for the nearest match that can deliver
Mm.
that lesson, as hard as it will be.
Yeah.
So the closer we can get to our own healing and our own sense of self-worth and love
Mm.
before embarking on a journey with the other, the better. That is
Yeah.
the deeper you love yourself, the better quality of love you'll attract as well. It's a completely cosmic paralleling.
Yeah. Yeah, and I often find, and this is something I talk about particularly with like men's group and men's work, and particularly young men, because of course, many young men struggle with this, including myself, is defining relationships with the opposite sex or, with people that you are interested in, whether it be man or woman or whatever, is acknowledging interest early. Don't let friendships be ruined by the fact that you were just waiting around in the friend zone or perceived
Mhm.
friend zone.
Yeah.
If you are interested in a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. Let them know early on. Do not let it linger. Do not think that because you've been friends for a year that all of a sudden you spring that and it's just like, you have misinterpretations. You've told your own story. You really like, boom, you meet someone and you're like, I'm single. I wonder if they're single. Find out if they're single first. The amount of men that are like, yeah, I really got interested in someone and then like 6 months later found out they have a boyfriend. It's just like, why didn't you know that sooner?
Yeah, you're meant to do all that research ASAP.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I often find that even now that I'm in a committed relationship and have absolutely no interest being with anyone else, I
Mhm.
often mention that I'm in a relationship early on interacting with a new female friend
Yeah.
because I want
Oh
them
my gosh.
yeah, because I'm an overly friendly person. And so I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I'm like, because I'm overly friendly and I assert like I'm in a relationship, I'm not interested in you. It's like, oh, thank God. I can feel
Yeah.
that like that energy shift to like, oh, he's not flirting with me. Good. Like,
Yeah. Again, it's that thing about truth and clarity, isn't
yeah.
it? With other people, because I think a lot of people toe the line with that as well. Like they'll get in relationships and then they'll go out for a night out with their mates and they'll get chatting to someone at the bar and they won't mention they're in a relationship. It's like,
Yeah.
come on,
Why are we not mentioning that?
Yeah, exactly. It's really good to be clear and protective of your
Yeah.
connection with someone as well.
Yeah, and I think that's also a telling sign. Like if you're in a committed relationship and then you're out and someone's flirting with you and you
Mhm.
know it and you don't mention that you're in a relationship and you let it happen, like that makes you have to self-reflect as well as like, why did you do that? Why
Yeah,
didn't you mention that?
yeah,
Maybe you shouldn't be in that. What's wounded, what's not healed.
right. Yeah, and where are you not being met sometimes as well? Like, are your
Yeah.
needs not being met with that person? And then
Hmm.
naturally, as a human being, we start sort of seeking other places for needs to be met. So that can be a real indicator of a relationship that isn't in alignment with your true self and what your core needs are.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a very deep journey, isn't it, love? It's a very beautiful thing. And it's a really interesting thing because I think anyone we would speak to, I feel quite confident they would say they've had their best experiences and their worst
Hmm.
experiences through love.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a paver of growth
Hmm.
for people as individuals.
Yeah. I mean, one of my spiritual awakenings happened after a very dramatic breakup.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. I mean, because it rips your soul apart.
yeah.
That's what if I mean anyone who's gone through a really bad breakup has had it feels as though their soul is ripped apart.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no pain quite like it actually,
No.
especially people that are a little bit doe-eyed like you and me as
Yeah,
well. We're
yeah.
very
Oh my
much
gosh.
romanticists. And sometimes it means a very high fall from a high place
Yeah.
when you're knocked back in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like my first book, like, one of the highest points of a relationship that did fall apart was the time I received inspiration to write my first book.
Mm,
And then it's also at the lowest point of that relationship, that my soul was ripped open enough for like, a spiritual intuition to come through.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my journey into shamanic practice happened after a breakup.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah,
That thing of you have to be cracked open for
yeah,
real change to take place. And sometimes breakups can be almost alchemical like that.
yeah,
They can really transform you into a whole different era of your life where you're
mhm,
suddenly aware of your flaws. There's nothing like a relationship breakup to make you
yeah,
go, oh, these are the areas I still need to grow in. These are
hmm,
the bits where I still am, not less than ideal as a human being. We all have that.
yeah,
So it calls us into greater self-reflection, greater self-love and compassion as well, and
yeah,
greater accountability, I suppose, is the big one.
yeah. And I think that's why, for me, I'm grateful for everything. I'm
Mm,
grateful for that moment where I was shaking my fist at the gods in the fjords of Norway,
yeah,
because without it, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
yeah,
And for that, I couldn't be more grateful.
yeah. No, I completely agree. Even relationships that have gone really wrong in the past, I still approach them in my mind with humility and gratitude because
Hmm.
the worst lessons are the biggest teachers,
Yeah,
right? they're the biggest teachers and the biggest periods of growth, and for that, of course, we can be grateful.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think, I'll end it on a sweet moment for us both. Won't go into details, but you and I both have leaned on each other and spirit on relationship crises.
yeah,
And I think the beauty of your and I's friendship is that from my side of things, there's never been a romantic side. We've always just been amazing friends.
yeah.
I think it's because you and I have always just been honest. We've always just had fun, and we still have a great love for each other. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so like friendship love, it can totally exist
Yeah.
as long as it's with like those very clear boundaries that we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier. Like it's only from that we have such a solid foundation of friendship that feels
Yeah.
more like brother and sisterhood, doesn't
Mhm.
it? It's like a very special thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, we talk about like your heart growing. And I think that's what it
Mm.
feels like. It's like I have my a love romantic expression that grows in a different direction than my love friendship expression, my love family expression. They all feel different, but they're all love. They all come from the heart and all come from our emotion. And growing all of those is very important. And I think we often focus very heavily, especially in the younger days, growing that love expression of romance. And it's important to grow all those aspects as much equally.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah, they're different. We have this thing, don't we, with the Western language where there's not enough words for love, but I think other countries do.
Yeah.
I wish I had more information about it to share, but I know there's lots of different words for the word love, and
Mm.
it applies to things like family love, friendship love, pet
Mm.
love, like romantic love, and all of the different ones. So yeah, we are
Uh,
limited somewhat by language with that.
Something that, I think, we can probably start wrapping up this conversation in general. I think the final thing I want to share is it was funny. Just last night we were watching, my partner hasn't really seen Lord of the Rings. She has. She has. She's watched them once, but she had never seen the extended editions.
Oh,
And she didn't know they existed. And I was
oh,
like,
that's
and she was like, because we were thinking about watching it because we went to a candlelight concert for
oh,
Lord of the Rings, which was really nice.
oh.
Um, it was like a 25-year celebration of Lord of the Rings, and
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh, let's watch it beforehand." I was like, "Oh, well, I'll put it on." She's like, "Oh, just put on the originals." I'm like, "The what?" I'm like, "There is
How
only
dare
the
you?
extended." And so it's like watching it for the first time with her, because there's like an hour of Lord of the Rings she hasn't seen in each movie.
Yeah.
And it was funny because last night we got to the point in the fellowship because the damn thing's 4 hours long, and so we watched it in two parts. And Gimli received the hairs from Gladriel. And one of the
Oh,
things he says is, "I'll never call anything fair ever again unless it's the hairs upon her head." And I just think that's such a beautiful moment. And one of the things I was reflecting on is I really appreciate how in Lord of the Rings, both the books and the movies, there's nothing overly sexual. It's all
yeah.
romance and love expressed in an old tradition. Like it really comes from the old way of looking at love, in my opinion, and the refined way of looking at it. And that
Yes.
line right there, is such an expression of love. Gimli and Gladriel did not get naked and have sex together, but he
I
just the hairs on her head. I will never call something fair again unless it's these hairs. And it's like that is such a romantic thing.
know. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really gorgeous. Yeah. That is old romance. I kind of miss films being that innocent as
Yeah.
well. Like what has happened to films? Because it's all just a bit too much now.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like watching a porno, isn't it? In some
Yeah.
films. You think, yeah, it doesn't leave much to the imagination, but that old style romance definitely still exists. It's and it's up to the individual,
Mhm.
ourselves, our listeners, to ensure the continuation of it, to keep sort of loving from that innocent
Yeah.
place of sweetness, just sweetness. Yeah,
Yeah.
sweetness and love.
Yeah. And so I think my challenge to myself is even looking at romantic love or even like, spiritual love, God love, is choosing a word or something like that to dedicate to a certain god or goddess. Like, let's use Freya as an example because it's, the easiest one. So let's say like a word like gorgeous. Like I will never call anything gorgeous unless it's in reference to Freya. That's
Oh,
that's an offering. That's a very
yeah,
powerful one.
yeah, yeah. That's devotional,
Yeah.
devotional love. And that's another thing I was going to say as well, just as a quick end note,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
if you have a strong devotional practice as a pagan, you will find somebody that reflects that, I
yeah.
think, as well. You know, that devotion to you or the
Mm,
future or a relationship will be mirrored in another. So if you don't have love yet and you really want to call it in, I think starting with a devotion to maybe a deity or a practice within paganism is a really good way to begin calling that person in.
mm. Yeah, and just like I said too, yeah, like reflect on those God archetypes. Like just because someone is not pagan doesn't mean they can't archetypal represent something. And it was
Yeah.
interesting, like, before even my date with my current partner, like I had a previous date with someone who was clearly still in their maiden phase. They were embodying their Freya, their sexuality more. And I had to sit with myself, before Emma and I were like together, is I had to actually sit there and be like, do I want someone in their maiden stage, in their Freya stage, or I do want someone in their earth energy and their earth goddess? Like, which one do I actually want to pursue? And that
Yeah.
made my decision a lot easier.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's so good. That's exactly how the folklore stories are meant to be interpreted, isn't it? There's
yeah,
pointers for life, you know,
hmm
help with direction.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think so in our new way of breaking everything down, this would be the area in which we would answer a question from the audience. So if you made it this far, this is where we want to start answering your questions once a month. So if there's, a couple questions, maybe we can answer or one. So once again, please put in the comments a question you would like us to answer. We've lived some life. We're not elders yet, but we would love to help you the best we can with our knowledge of paganism and our experiences. So if you have
Mhm.
any questions or seeking advice anyways, please put them in the comments below, and we would love to answer them in the next video. But I have
Yeah.
thought of one. I think I've probably asked you this before, but obviously we've both matured and changed over time. That's my favorite question to ask spiritual people. Kubi, what's something people could start doing right now or tomorrow to start living a more spiritual life?
Oh, I think by especially this time of year, by being present to the silence that is all around.
Mm,
So even if you start off the day with 5 minutes of just sitting in silence, that is the beginning of a spiritual practice. You're suddenly going into an inner world, an inner landscape that's very vast, that's connected to all the cosmos and all of the deities and the gods, and you're asking yourself to be seen by them. And you're
mm,
you're saying, look, I am here. I'm aware that I'm a human having a humanoid experience, but I am here to experience all that is. And obviously to do this with a bubble of protection and not just to connect with any kind of random demon flying through the space system that is up there, but to just maybe like choose a deity and to spend some time just calling them in silence, one that you really resonate with. For me, it's always the sun god. I fully align with the sun god as like my true god. And then I bring it down to experience life
mm,
within the earth goddess realm. So I do this every morning. When I do 5 minutes of red light therapy as my sort of beauty practice of the day, just 5 minutes. And whilst I'm sat there with the light on, I just do a little prayer to the sun god. And for me, even if I'm really busy and don't have time for all the other ritual stuff that I would like to do, that for me is like presencing the thing that I'm
mm.
in alignment with. It's that 5 minute a day of devotion.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like, what my advice would be very similar. As many people know, like I've started working in restaurants again to get by and pay the bills. It's a necessary evil while I continue to explore tattooing as a career path. And restaurant work is terribly good at making you feel disconnected, disenchanted. And what
Mm,
I find is very similar to you, Kubi, is that every day that I actually want to feel better, I start it with a prayer. Um,
mm,
I go in, I go to my little area of tables that I wait, or the bar that I'm keeping, and I simply do a prayer to the house spirit, to the spirits of my ancestors, and I call to them. It's not organized in any way. I'm just like spirits of the ancestors of hospitality, those who served and were served, those names that were forgotten, the names of the people that have constantly been in hospitality, to the
yeah.
spirits of hospitality, to the gods and goddesses. Be with me today. Let me be patient. Let me be prosperous. Let me share love. And I find the days that I am able to start the shift with that, I feel so much more embodied in my soul. And then I'm also able to then provide better hospitality, better love, and I can express it. And the days that I don't do that, I 100% don't feel alignment. I feel disenchanted. So yeah, prayer is a very powerful thing. And I do feel that a lot of people feel it is taken away because of Christianity. But everyone has access to prayer, and it is very important.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's bringing the magic to the mundane, which I
Mhm.
think is totally what life is about, because then the
Yeah.
mundane becomes something quite magical anyway.
Yeah. If you need if you need to do high lung, all father, high tier every day to feel something, like it's just like a drug, it's going to run out. You
Yeah.
need to find that magic in the everyday.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's great.
Very good.
Good
Well,
advice.
everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you all the best in your lessons in love. We are all constantly students of love, whether it's romantic, friendship, or family. So I wish you all the best and look forward to chatting with you next month.
Bye.